In January, we have got the Nodal Shift taking place. And what is that, you might be asking? Well, this is where the nodes of the moon, the lunar nodes, are going to be moving signs. So you've probably heard me talk about the North Node and the South Node in my astrology reports, and those are the lunar nodes. They are currently, as I'm recording this, in Aries and Libra respectively. So the North Node is currently in Aries, South Node currently in Libra. They are in cardinal signs. They move backwards. So on the 11th of January for us in the UK, it's going to be the 12th of Jan for Australia. They're going to be moving back into the signs of Pisces and Virgo respectively. So the North Node is going to be moving from Aries back into Pisces, and the South Node is going to be moving from Libra back into the sign of Virgo. And they are then going to be in Pisces and Virgo up until the 27th of April 2026. So they're going to be in those new signs for about 15 months, if I've calculated that correctly. But this is going to be a period of time where certainly our path forward is going to pivot a bit. Okay, it's still our path forward, but there's going to be a pivoted emphasis, I would say, and also the South Node. So that foundation that we are laying for ourselves as we move forward, of course, we're moving in the direction of the North Node from the South Node, so it's where we've come from. We've got to now pay attention to that Virgo energy and what that Virgo energy might have been and might be showing us. Also, we need to look at past life stuff as well, and I will come on to that when I show the chart, because that's part of where we've come from as well on a deeper scale. If it's resonating for you, it's going to resonate for you, okay? And we need to look at where we're moving forward in the direction of, so this is the Piscean path. This is the more ethereal, spiritual path, connected more to source energy, connecting more to the 5D essence, connecting more to our intuition. So it's very profound. And of course, we know we're in this age of Aquarius with Pluto making his monumental shift into Aquarius, and this new reality that we are forging ahead for ourselves. Okay, this is all about the direction in which we're going. That has been one of sovereignty. Okay, that's the Aries energy. So where we've had the North Node in Aries, it's about moving in the direction of our sovereignty and being the leader of our own life. And that could have been a step out of a comfort zone for many people, because when have we ever stopped to think about ourselves? You know, Aries is all about the self. It's the house of the self. What do we want? What do we want for our future? Okay, encouraging us to step more onto that sovereign path. And with Chiron in Aries, it's been part of our healing journey to do that. So recognizing now with the nodes changing, this nodal shift, we are then having this emphasis on the spiritual essence that we hold within that is now coming more to the forefront of our lives. So learning that we are the leader of our own life and understanding we've got that capability within us on an ethereal level in order to manifest the reality for ourselves, okay? And to connect with source energy, to guide us forward, our intuition, our inner compass to guide us forward. That's the path that we are on, okay? It's more in tune with the divine. Now, Saturn is still in Pisces and will still be in Pisces for a certain period of time, okay, after this nodal shift. And so there is still this kind of, how do I want to describe it? It's like a recognition of Saturn, of you know, the work that we're putting into things to learn the Saturnian lessons and to actually understand on a deep level here that Saturn has been wanting to get us in alignment with our spiritual truth. And so we've been going through test after test after test, and lesson after lesson after lesson. What have we been learning about this whole process? As a result, we've become more in tune with our spiritual self, with our spiritual truth, and that's what he wants. And depending on how far we are along on our journey, that can be quite challenging, okay, because it's part of our ascension path as well. So with this nodal shift now and this focus on, okay, this is the path forward to really embrace the spiritual essence, our spirituality, and to really trust our intuition. Okay, because you might be watching this and you might not be very spiritual, you might not believe in it. That's absolutely fine. Okay, everybody's got their own beliefs and their own free will, but we've all got intuition. So this is about connecting deeper with our intuition to guide us forward on our path in terms of what we're doing. It's that gut instinct, okay, rather than allowing the mind to actually overthink and get in the way. The mind is a great tool, but we need to understand how we feel on an intuitive level as we move forward now on this path. And recognizing where we've come from, that Virgo energy, that's very structured, it's very organized. Virgo likes to sort of clean things up, get things in order, get plans in place. And we may have already been doing that because of the astrology that we've had up until this point. So we kind of know, right, this is what we want for our reality. Not only that, the new moon in Capricorn that is coming up later today at the time of me recording this, which is on the 30th of December. So that's for the UK, by the way. So that Capricornian energy is supporting that. It's supporting the organization. It's supporting those plans. But it's understanding that through doing that, we also need to springboard in the direction of, you know, where we're going based on our intuition. So we can put those plans in place and we can have that as that solid foundation. Virgo is earth energy, so it's grounded. Okay, so we can be grounded then at our foundation and move forward in the direction of that ethereal essence of trusting our intuition and moving forward and being guided by our intuition, connecting more with that 5D. We've got 5D Pisces, 3D Virgo, if you like to think of it like that, okay? It's that dreamer and reality. We need both, okay? So the Virgo South Node is going to help sort of ground us into the reality so we can kind of pivot from that place to move forward into that which we want to do as a dreamer, okay? And I hope that makes sense. I'm a Pisces, so I'm very much a dreamer. I've got a lot of Virgo in my chart, so I'm always being pulled back down to earth by the Virgo energy, and that's needed sometimes. But it can be a bit frustrating at times because I just want to be, you know, up in the clouds dreaming about things. But we need both. You know, we need to have dreams. We need to be able to connect with our intuition, but we also need to apply things in a realistic way. So this can help us. It's mutable energy. We're moving from the nodes being in cardinal energy to mutable energy. So there is more of a flow to this. And, you know, perhaps as we're kind of like moving on our path and we are almost pivoting in that direction of our intuition more and into that spiritual realm, if we do need to just pull back a bit to have a bit of a reality check, which is kind of like Capricornian energy as well as Virgo energy, I would say, then it gives us the room to do that. It's mutable. There is a flow to this. There is going to be more of a flow to our journey. And I have to mention that Virgo, even though it's mutable energy, there is, when we look at the shadow side, because there's a shadow side to everything, there is this need to control things, okay, because Virgo likes to be in control of everything. So there is this sort of, that feels safe to a Virgo, you know, and that's why they plan. That's why they have things quite structured and ordered, because then they feel in control. And there's nothing wrong with that because, as I mentioned, I've got a lot of Virgo in my chart and I resonate with that. This is now saying let's not be over controlling. We've got to flow with the reality, and that can feel a bit uncomfortable. So what it might also do with this nodal shift is bring up those aspects of the past where we've come from. Remember, South Node, where we've come from, to bring up those aspects where maybe we've had too much control over certain things that have needed to flow, where we have been controlled by others or situations, how we've let that almost take our power away from us, but where we felt the need to overly control a situation or to control the outcome of a situation, where we might have been a bit overly perfectionist in our approach, okay? Because remember, there's light and shadow, so we've got to balance this out. There's also shadow aspects to Pisces, of course. There is the more sort of self-sabotage side to the Piscean energy, and also the illusion and the confusion that can come from that, which sometimes can make you doubt your intuition. So this path, okay, this period of the next 15 months with this nodal shift is going to teach us to get in touch more with our intuition and to recognize that we can come from that grounded place of being in control and having plans and having that sort of structure to be organized, to feel safe in terms of where we're going, but to also trust our intuition, because that's the direction that we're moving towards. Okay, so let's pull up the chart and we'll see what's going on. Okay, so bear with me whilst I do that. Okay, so here we are. Right. This is the freeze frame of the cosmos at the time of this nodal shift. Okay, so this is the chart that shows the planets and the asteroids, okay, at that particular moment. So it gives us an indication when we look at astrology in terms of the aspects between the planets, to understand the energy. And when we look at this against our own natal chart, this is what gives us a horoscope. Okay, because it can show where our natal chart energy, where our soul's blueprint can be applied to what's going on, and that can give us explanation, it can give us insight into how the energy is playing out for us and how we can work with the energy to our advantage in order to make the most of it. We've got free will in this reality. So the energy is there. We can choose to align with it or not. That's our free will. That's the gift of free will in this reality. Okay. But we are going to be asked to trust our intuition more as we move forward with this nodal shift in that direction. Okay. Coming from that sovereign place. Remember, we're coming from that place of sovereignty of Aries, of what do we want? I'm going in the direction of what I want. I'm the leader of my own life. Now, with this movement to Pisces for the North Node, this is about upholding that spiritual integrity and actually acknowledging the gifts that we have inside of us to guide us forward. We've got that inner compass within us to guide us forward, but have we been listening to it? Well, as the leader of our own life now, then surely we can acknowledge what we're being shown, because we're now empowered to move forward. So here we have, as I say, the chart at the time of this nodal shift, which is happening for us in the UK on GMT, 11th of January at 23:02. So that's 2 minutes past 11 at night. So it's going to be the 12th of January for those of you in other parts of the world, including Australia. Okay. But I was very drawn to the fact it's 11th of January, 111. So that feels very aligned as well. And certainly because of everything that we've had to face over the past, year of 2024. It's been quite challenging with things going on. So this is about now an aligned pivot. That's what I would call it, an aligned pivot. And it's one that we need because we have to engage more with our intuition. That's a gift that's within us, that source energy that's within us. And it's there to help us. Okay. We might not always listen to it. We might ignore it because our mind kind of comes in to protect us of situations, certainly where we need to take a leap of faith. And it comes in to protect us, which is great. But then we can get into the overthinking, and that's where the self-sabotage comes into it. So that's what we need to be mindful of with the Piscean energy moving forward. Okay. Now, when this happens, we're still going to be in Capricorn season. So we've still got that energy of needing to get things done and to be organized and to have rules in place and to put boundaries in place. Okay, so we've got all of that going on. Pluto's in Aquarius, this new reality that's unfolding for us over the next 20 years. Okay, and it's a new reality. So this is about embracing that and allowing ourselves to be guided forward based on what we've learned from the cardinal energy of Aries and Libra, moving now into the mutable energy of the flow. Okay, so I will remind you that, yes, we're coming from the North Node being in Aries, so the sovereign path, and the South Node in Libra. So that's about laying that foundation that is fair, balanced, harmonious, reciprocal, and also detaching from those situations in the past and or past lives that have not been reciprocal. So those are things that might have been coming up in this past year or so, that have really, you know, Saturn has been kind of putting us through the ringer with, by showing us these things so that we can close out that karma, we can heal once we've acknowledged and accepted what's going on and why that pattern is coming up, for example. Shadow wounds as well. Lilith has also been helping with that, to allow us to see the shadow aspects of why certain things have happened that way. And when it comes to that justice of Libra, you know, we're wanting to establish that. So we need to detach from those aspects where things haven't been fair or just, in order to move forward on the sovereign path. So now, yes, the North Node and South Node are changing to Pisces, Virgo. We can take that wisdom of what we've learned from the past 18 months or so, and we can apply that by laying that foundation of the structure of Virgo that likes to clean things up. Okay, we want to get things in order. We want to get moving in that way. It's grounded reality, but we need to flow with what's going on in this new reality. We need to flow with how things are unfolding for us, okay, and to not be so controlling of the outcome. Those are aspects we need to detach from, that the Virgo essence is showing us. And of course, you know, when these nodes change and they move back into those signs, because they move backwards, okay, they're always retrograding, if you like, they move backwards, they're going to be at that final anaretic degree of the sign. So rather than, you know, a planet moving forward and they go to 0 degrees of a sign and then they move forward, this is now about the nodes actually moving backwards. So the first degree that they're going to be in this new sign is 29 degrees. So that's the final anaretic degree, and that can feel intense. So it could be a wake-up call for a lot of people. It could actually be a wake-up call of, I tried to control that outcome. Look where that's got me. I need to look at this. I need to understand why this is happening. And, you know, the North Node about, whoa, I didn't listen to my intuition about that, did I? You know, it could just be sort of wake-up calls. But because Pisces is that spiritual, ethereal sign and that energy, there could be further awakenings that are happening as a result of this nodal shift, okay? I believe they've been going on throughout the past however many months, since 2020 particularly, but, you know, even more so within the collective. This is now that we're moving forward, and as we're detaching and we are healing, we are evolving and ascending more. So further awakenings are happening, and up-leveling of awakenings, if I can use that term, okay? So it's more things, because trust me, when you go through an awakening and a spiritual ascension, you become aware of so many things that you didn't see before. Your perspective and perception of things changes beyond belief. So if you're going through that right now, be kind to yourself, but understand that this could also allow that to happen within the collective as well, because it's a nodal shift and it is pivotal to the 5D, 3D. That's what I believe, okay? Because I've always sort of said Pisces and Virgo, 5D, 3D. They are opposite signs, but we can use the energy to work together if we're aware of what's coming up, basically, okay? I went off on a tangent there, apologies. You can see some lines here. I was particularly drawn to these aspects, and I am an intuitive reader as well, so I allow any channeled messages to come through during these readings, which is why they often go on for longer than I anticipate them to go on for, because certain things come through. But if they need to come out, they need to come out, because maybe somebody needs to receive that message, okay? And I felt very drawn to, certainly, the Scorpio energy when I looked at this chart, okay? And to me, intuitively, it felt very angelic. And this might be just me unlocking my own Piscean energy, but this felt very angelic. We've got asteroids here, and don't pay any attention to the houses here, because this is the chart of an event, okay? We'll look at it against the UK's chart. That will give you some context. But here we've got Vesta, Lilith, Poseidon and Juno in Scorpio at this time, okay? Juno happens to be in a grand water trine with Neptune and Mars. I've not marked it up on the chart because I didn't want to confuse it with the other stuff going on. But that's powerful energy, water energy as well. The cardinal energy through all of those is the Cancer energy, because that's a cardinal sign, and that's where Mars is. Mars, of course, during his retrograde is going to retrograde back into the sign of Cancer on the 6th of January. So at this point of the nodal shift, he is moving backwards in Cancer. And he is going to be there up until, I forget the date now, it's in February, 24th of February. He is then going to then station direct and move forward, okay? But this retrograde, moving from Leo back into Cancer, he doesn't want to feel these feelings, and he's having to. So it's not a very comfortable place for Mars to be. But this grand trine that, okay, isn't marked up on here, is between Mars, Neptune, and Juno. So this is about, you know, our commitment, Juno, to our intuition, Neptune, in order to take the necessary action, Mars. So we can be guided by that, and perhaps that need to take action is what's going to drive us forward, because Mars is in the cardinal sign of Cancer. But it might feel a bit uncomfortable because he really doesn't want to be there. But because we've got a trine, it's harmonious aspects between those three. So that need to take action on our path is what's driving that need to check in with our intuition more, and also the need to commit to ourselves and to others and to things, whatever it might be, that's going to serve a deep purpose, Scorpio, okay, and a transformative purpose as well. It's going to allow for further transformation. It's going to allow for a deeper connection to our intuition, and it's also going to allow us to take further action. It all works in harmony together, okay? So there is a lot of kind of heightened water energy, I would say, because of that grand water trine. But if we look at what the North Node and the South Node are doing, first of all, we'll go into that in more detail. But if I rewind back, sorry, I'm being a Pisces now, going a bit all over the place. But if I go back to the angelic energy, that's this energy here in Scorpio. It just felt there was something about it that was very angelic. It was like angel wings I was seeing. Okay. So to me, that is saying that there is something profound with these placements in Scorpio. So you could check out, you know, the transits against your chart and where that might be happening for you. And if you've got anything at those degrees of Scorpio, for example, if you're aware of that. But Vesta is all about the sacred flame. Okay, that's that kind of creative muse. That's that spark that inspires us. It's home and hearth as well. It's about creating things, but that which we're passionate about. It's feminine energy. Lilith is feminine energy, but it's shadow side. So it's those wounds that might be coming up on a deep level for us to really transmute and transform. But also, what might we be almost suppressing if we've got these deep desires of what we want to do? Those might be shown to us as well. Poseidon's not afraid to shake up the waters to allow us to see these things. And remember, this is Scorpio, so he's doing it on a deep level, okay, really trudging up the seas, metaphorically speaking, for us. Or we are doing that for ourselves because we want things to change in that way. And then Juno reminding us about that love and commitment aspect. Well, we need to be committed to ourselves, our journey. And certainly here, because of the grand water trine, that commitment to our intuition and the action that we want to take on our path moving forward. Okay. So it could also be saying about soul contracts, because, you know, Neptune being that ethereal, spiritual aspect. And then we've got Juno, that can be spiritual soul contracts that are working more in harmony because of the nodal shift, because as we are shifting and we're moving more onto that spiritual path, perhaps it's allowing for those connections and soul contracts to come to fruition. Okay, right. Now let's look at the North Node. Okay, let's have a look at the North Node and see what's going on there. Okay, so I've mentioned 29 degrees anaretic degree of Pisces. So North Node is going to join Neptune at home in Pisces, because of course Neptune rules Pisces, and Saturn and Venus. So straight off the bat, notice that the masculine and feminine energy are both in water signs. Mars is in Cancer, but in retrograde. Venus is in Pisces. Okay, so it's water energy. And the masculine is in the cardinal sign. So the masculine is what drives things forward when it comes to that masculine and feminine balance within us and in our external situations that are playing out. The masculine needs to take charge here. Venus is in Pisces, that's mutable energy. The feminine needs to flow. Okay. So that's just something I noticed there as well. But that's giving, a lot of that Piscean energy. We've got, the lessons of Saturn. We need to get into our spiritual truth, acknowledgement of our intuition, and that heightened energy of Neptune being there. So really supporting what we're being shown from the ethers, what we're being shown by our intuition, and receiving that information in order to learn more about our spiritual integrity, our spiritual truth. And Venus, what that's teaching us about our investment of Venus energy. So our intuition is going to guide us in that way, in terms of, are we investing in the right people? Are we investing our time in the right places, the right things, and so on. Okay. Now, the South Node is all on its own in Virgo. So there's nothing else going on in Virgo at the moment. There might be in your chart, of course, if you've got a lot of Virgo, but the South Node is there. Okay, so the South Node is almost kind of making room for his or herself there. Okay. And when I look at the chart, it looks more heavy on the North Node side. So I just feel there is more emphasis here on our path forward. It's not to forget where we've come from, because we have to understand that. We've got to take that into account. And there's a lot of aspects that I've drawn up on here from the South Node. So we can't, dismiss that. But the North Node is almost, sounds pretty obvious to say it, but leading the way, because that is the way forward. But, the North Node is there almost shouting a bit louder here, is what I would say. Remember I said about the movement from Aries back into Pisces, and we've still got Chiron in Aries, who's now out of retrograde, and the vertex point at this moment is also there. So it's still very fated and destined for our sovereignty. It's a moment for us to take charge of our path and understand with this nodal shift that if we've got to pivot and now look at, right, let's engage with the intuition more, it's about being the leader of our own life to do that, and upholding our sovereignty and feeling worthy of that as well to do that. Okay. Between the two here, so obviously there's opposition energy between the two because they are in opposite signs. But we've got, and I know I've drawn quite a few lines here, we've kind of got a rectangular box, if you can see that, with the two purple lines at the one end of each end, okay, and then the green. So the purples there represent the sextiles and the green represents the trines, okay? But you can see that's formed a bit of a box. And that box connects the North Node to both Mars and Pluto, and it connects the South Node to both Mars and Pluto, but different aspects. So the North Node is in sextile to Pluto and is in trine to Mars. The South Node is in sextile to Mars, but trine to Pluto. Okay, so that's what links them all together. And then we've got that opposition energy. So obviously Mars and Pluto are there, and they are opposite each other as well. And there's been a lot, mentioned about this, and certainly in the previous videos that I've done, where there's been that masculine face-off almost. It's like a build-up of tension in order to kind of like get that drive within to take action. It is that sort of build up of that pressure point to do that, but it can feel quite challenging. There might be tension, the masculine energy, there's quite a bit of tension there, because Pluto here is wanting this new reality, and Mars wants to take action, but is having to feel some feelings at the moment, so doesn't quite like it. So it can feel quite tense, because in order to forge this path of the new reality ahead, Mars has to be, raring to go. And in retrograde, this is about introspection at the moment. And this is why he's having to feel those feelings. So it can feel a bit like, oh, I really want to get things done, but I've got to feel this first. Why? That kind of thing. But the harmonious aspects with the North Node and the South Node is great, because, of course, this introspection is going to help with the North Node in Pisces in terms of that connection to our intuition, because that could come from the introspection of Mars. And equally, recognizing our path involves us connecting to our intuition, allows us to introspect more, to embrace that kind of meditation or just quiet time to reflect and to look at where we need to take action. So that's working in harmony. but we do need to feel those feelings. So the Pisces energy is going to support the Cancer energy with that, I feel. But also with the South Node there, you know, there is acknowledgement that we've come from this place of being grounded and needing to get things in order. But where have we tried to control the outcome and take action where perhaps we've needed to allow things to flow more? So that link between the two, with Mars being in retrograde, that introspection is possibly allowing more wisdom to come through. And that's going to help build up the wisdom at the foundation of the South Node as we move in that direction. And we've got that wisdom being layered behind us. That's the way I like to kind of visualize it. And equally with Pluto, you know, the transformation that comes on our journey is naturally as a result of us moving forward and moving away from the past. So that is a natural part of the transformation journey. It's pivotal here, I feel, because of the Mars and Pluto sort of opposition. And there is that masculine energy that is calling for action and transformation. But we know we're moving into a new reality. So the nodal shift is saying things are changing because we've got to connect with our intuition. And we've got to understand maybe where we have sabotaged ourselves in the past because we have been too controlling of the outcome, because we've tried to get things in order where really we should have let things go and surrender to the flow of things, or maybe where we've been too much of a perfectionist when it comes to things. We're learning this. Again, it's the wisdom, and we're transforming and evolving as part of that. So it's all helping the bigger picture in that way. South Node is also in trine to Uranus. So of course, that is change, you know, and Uranus rules Aquarius. So there is that link there, but Uranus is currently retrograde in Taurus. So there is introspection on change and innovation that's needed within this new reality, but we need to believe we're worthy of it. So the South Node being in Virgo is going to, you know, teach us where we feel worthy of it, and perhaps allow us to update our values. If we're actually recognizing that perhaps a value that we had is no longer working for us. So we've been trying to sort of control things based on that value, but that value is no longer working for us. So that's going to support the change, but it means that we're also adjusting our worth and values to suit our path going forward. There is a Sesqui square from the South Node to Ceres, and Ceres is also in Aquarius there. So this is like a minor challenge here in terms of the seeds that we're wanting to plant for our reality. This is very much about, you know, creation. It's feminine energy as well, but it's also about how we can nurture ourselves through it in order to plant the seeds for the reality that we're wanting to experience in a new, innovative way. Okay, because it's Aquarius energy, and that's going to involve connections with others and how things are changing and transforming on that bigger scale. But it's also, you know, the expansion that can come from that, because when we plant things and they grow, you know, that's that expansion. So the challenge is, can we allow ourselves to actually accept and acknowledge the reality that we are wanting, and to plant the seeds in alignment with that, not the seeds that perhaps we wanted to control. It's a fine line here, because, you know, we are in charge of our reality. So there is an element of control there, because we need to take charge of our reality. But what I'm trying to say here is the shadow aspects of Virgo is controlling a situation or controlling an outcome, because the safety and security is felt when we try to control how things are going to unfold. And the reality is Virgo is a mutable sign. So it goes against the flow. But because Virgo likes to be organized and have plans in place, that's safe. Okay, so it's almost like a step out of the comfort zone because of the new reality, and acknowledging that we can still plant those seeds. We can still take charge of those seeds that we are planting by using the wisdom of where things maybe haven't worked out in the past, where we've tried to control those seeds that we're planting, if that makes sense. Ceres is also in semi-square to the North Node. Okay, so there's also a challenge with the path. So yes, okay, we need to understand what I've just said about the Virgo energy, but we also need to recognize that our intuition is going to guide us in terms of those seeds that we do need to plant. So this is about listening to our intuition and not allowing ourselves to actually almost overpower ourselves or overshadow ourselves by the need to control. This is about definitely flowing with that intuitive energy as we move forward on this path. Okay. And it is more of a flow. It is more of a surrender. And that can feel uncomfortable when we don't know what's going to happen. That can feel uncomfortable, certainly for the Virgo energy. Okay. So this is where they need to work hand in hand, because we need to have that reality at the base, at the foundation. But we also need to drift into the ethereal to connect with our intuition in that way, in a positive way, to move forward. And Virgo is also very much about being of service. Okay, let's not forget that. So there is still a link between Pisces and Virgo, because being of service comes from a place of compassion. It comes from a place of, wanting to serve. And so, there is an element here of the sacred servant, okay, between these two energies. So yes, understand where we are of service to people, but we might need to adjust that as well, because have we been too much of service to people where we've neglected ourselves, or we have self-sabotage because we've been too focused on being the servant to other people? That's also going to be wisdom that's going to come up because of this nodal shift as we progress forward. Okay. Energy is fluid. We know this. The aspects between the planets and the asteroids are going to change. So this is what makes the journey fascinating. It's about aligning with it, but we have the free will to do so or not. Okay. And it's going to play out differently for everybody, because we've all got our unique soul's blueprint on a natal chart. Okay. To go to the North Node and the South Node with the moon. At this point, the moon is going to be in Gemini. Okay. And there is a square that's going to both the North Node and South Node. So there is challenge when it comes to the feelings. And also what I'm getting here with the Gemini energy is about perspective. So the challenge might be where we need to look at something from a different perspective while the nodes are shifting. So we do have to look at it from a different perspective. Drawing on the wisdom from the Aries and Libra North Node, South Node, we're now moving into the Pisces Virgo. Okay, so we need to look at it from a different perspective anyway. And that can feel challenging because, again, it's shifting into the new. And perhaps it is creating awakenings or further ascension, and our eyes are being open to certain things. And it's like, whoa, okay, I've got to look at things from, both sides. It can give us that curiosity, and there might be resistance to that. And I say that because of the squares, because that indicates challenging energy. And it might simply be about feeling the curiosity, because perhaps we don't want to look at something that has come up for our attention. This is where our intuition really does need to play a part, because if it's something that we do need to look at, we need to look at it. So, and remember, Saturn in Pisces, spiritual truth. Okay. So yeah, so we need to understand the challenges that could be faced on an emotional level, because it's the moon. When it comes to Gemini, looking at things from, both sides, looking at a situation from both sides, being curious. And also, Gemini energy brings logic. Okay. It's also mutable energy, by the way. So there is a flow to it, but there's logic. And it might feel like there's no logic to what's going on whatsoever, because it's like, whoa, I am really having to flow and trust here. So where's the logic? Like, my mind's looking for the logic. Where is the logic? It's not there. Oh, it feels a bit uncomfortable. I don't know if I want to look at this. Okay, it can feel a bit like that, I would say, with the squares there. But ultimately, this is for our highest good, because perhaps we need to feel that to understand why something is feeling uncomfortable. So when we look at the bigger picture with all of this, because that's all of the aspects I drew on here, it's certainly about moving us forward onto that spiritual path. And as I said at the beginning, if you're not into spirituality, you don't believe in it, you don't consider yourself to be a spiritual person, that's absolutely fine. But if you resonate with having a soul, then, and you also resonate with intuition and that gut instinct, this is about following that Okay, it's about simply following that and trusting our intuition more on this path forward, to not try and control the outcome, and to allow that mutable energy to come into play, which is more of that flow, and that can feel unpredictable. As I say, where's the logic to it? It can feel unpredictable. So it's just having that awareness of that. The other thing I want to just mention, I've not drawn it up on here, but you might be able to see this line that's like a dotted line that's going across, and that's the quincunx. Okay, so that's the south node to Pars Fortuna, the pot of fortune. Interestingly, at 0 degrees of Taurus at the time that this happens. Okay, so in terms of our success, which can come in any form, okay, it's called the pot of fortune, Pars Fortuna, and it immediately makes people think money, money, money. Fortune comes in many different ways: joy, health, happiness, love, abundance. Okay, it's about success in whatever way. In Taurus, that's about, you know, receiving the success of like the finer things in life, because you know, Taurus likes the kind of beautiful bounty. It's almost like in the reality as well. It's having that that which we like. So Taurians like the look of certain things. They want to experience the finer things in life. Okay, that's not a blanket statement, because it depends on what else is going on in your chart. But Taurus is about that quality of things. Okay, because it is that, you know, it is that Venus energy and Libra energy almost like rolled into one. It's very Empress vibes. Okay, so if you're familiar with tarot, it's very much Empress vibes. So it's about really kind of like knowing what you like, and with Pars Fortuna there, that's the success and receiving, you know, all of that kind of beautiful bounty of kind of pleasure and joy in the reality. Okay, in the material aspects as well. Okay, and with the quincunx, that's a disconnect. Okay, so it's not like a conjunction, it's the opposite of that. It's kind of like a separation almost. So it's dealing with the energies separately. And of course, if we're looking at where we've come from in the past, we need to detach from the past to receive that success of what we want, because what's not served us in the past, and that which we're trying to close out and detach from, enables us to move more in that direction of that which we want. Okay, that which we want to receive in our reality as that success, things that we like, things that we enjoy, that pleasure. But understanding where we've come from first is essential, but it needs to be dealt with separately. Yeah, we can't necessarily receive that until we've dealt with this. So that's what I would just say with that one. Of course, you'll see there's many other lines going on. There's lots more happening in the astrology, but those were the particular highlights that I was drawn to, that I was guided towards. Okay. And certainly intuitively, that angelic force of the Scorpio energy is definitely very profound. There's a lot of feminine energy there, but there's also the shadow feminine side. So we need to acknowledge our desires. We need to acknowledge why certain things have happened, and this is going deep. So if we can go deep, okay, this is about being supported by angelic forces when we're looking at our sacred flame, that which inspires us, that which sparks our imagination and our enthusiasm for life, for creating things, that which we want to do, you know, that maybe we've not acknowledged before because we haven't felt able to, comes from a deep place. And the shadow aspects around that of maybe where we've tried to pursue it before and it hasn't worked for us, and therefore we fear it. So it's a shadow wound that needs to be looked at. Let's shake up the waters. Poseidon is there, the only masculine energy there, shaking up the waters, showing and guiding the feminine in that way of what needs to be seen. Okay, trudged up from the bottom of the ocean up to the surface to be seen. And of course, our commitment to ourselves, our journey, and our intuition is going to be extremely important, with that essence of love as well, coming from a place of unconditional love on a deep level. Okay, there we are. Now, I'm just going to very quickly show you the chart against the UK's chart, but I'm not going to go into any major detail here. But you can see the inner wheel is the UK's natal chart. The outer wheel is exactly what I've just shown you. And all I've done is I've drawn that box, okay, as well as just marking up the houses. So you could do the same for your natal chart in this way. It's going to show you where the energies are heightened in that way. Okay, so here North Node moves into Pisces, is right by the midheaven of the chart there, but we're not going to focus on that. We're going to look at the fact it's in the 9th house, and the South Node there is in the 3rd house. And the South Node, interestingly, is 1 degree off the natal Poseidon for the UK's natal chart. So we've got the 3rd house of expression, we've got the 9th house of learning and discovery. So this, for the UK collectively, okay, this nodal shift moving forward, that connection with our intuition, it's certainly going to be a journey of discovery as we learn more about ourselves, those around us, situations, life generally. It's going to be a quest of discovery, but it's also going to enable us to feel more empowered about that direction in which we're heading. Okay, Sagittarius rules the 9th house, and that is also mutable energy, by the way, but this is about shooting that arrow in the direction of what we want. So if we're moving in the direction of what we want, and we're also moving in the direction of connecting more with our spirituality, we're going to have a closer relationship with our intuition, that source energy within, the inner compass. Okay, so it's that compass on a quest. You can't get much better than that here with the 9th house. So it's definitely a journey for us as we discover more about what our intuition is guiding us towards. And as we learn to go with the flow more, okay, this is linked to our expression, the 3rd house. So that South Node in Virgo, where have we come from where we've tried to control the outcome? Does it relate to our expression? Does it relate to our thoughts, how we communicate with others? And, you know, generally could be within our I was going to say within our work, that's like 10th house. But what I mean by that is if we've got something in our life where we are responsible for, you know, expressing ourselves, this could be linked here. Okay, this is just what I'm feeling. And interestingly, that's where past Fortuna is transiting the 10th house. That's probably why I said it. But we need to understand here that this is about laying a foundation of, you know, being quite organized and wanting to get things in order when it comes to our expression. So let's get our communication in order. Where do we need to work on that? Where do we need to allow it to flow more? Where have we tried to control it too much in the past where we've needed to allow it to flow? Poseidon is there and Lilith in the natal chart in the 3rd house. So yes, there could be shadow aspects coming up that relate to that, because perhaps, you know, we need to clean up some communication here and perhaps say something, and that's going to heal some karma from the past, and we can move forward in the direction of that ethereal essence because our intuition is guiding us in that way. But maybe there's shadow aspects to address. Okay, so it relates to our expression, and it's certainly we're moving in the direction of learning a lot. This is a journey. Okay, this is a quest of discovery. And Mars and Pluto that are in this rectangular box with the North Node and South Node that I showed you in the previous chart. Mars is in the 12th house, but only just, okay? And also we've got Pluto in the 7th house. Now Mars will be moving into the 1st house, okay, at some point, but he's in the 12th house for now. So this is about, and remember, he's retrograding. So he's kind of moving back into that spiritual home because the 12th house is ruled by Pisces. So he is moving back through that kind of ethereal intuition, the subconscious, and not feeling very comfortable in that Cancerian energy of having to feel things. That can be hitting quite a lot of hidden stuff coming up to the surface, okay? Which is why great for retrograde introspection, but might feel really kind of tense because it's like, I want to take action. I want to be the masculine and take action here. But actually I need to feel these things. And this is going all the way through my subconscious of hidden stuff coming up for me to pay attention to feel in order to heal it, of course, and to release it and move on. And with Pluto in the 7th house, because Pluto has just moved into the 7th house with this shift, of course, into Aquarius, then this is about relationships with people, places, things. So, you know, that masculine Mars energy needing to feel things in the subconscious that are relating to relationships with people, places, things. And also connected to what we're discovering about what our intuition is telling us and how our expression might have been involved, how our communication might have been involved, and how our thoughts might have been involved in this. So looking at the bigger picture in that respect. But the face-off between Mars and Pluto for the UK here, subconscious stuff going on, hidden stuff going on, and also what the intuition is saying when it relates to our relationships with people, places, and things. Okay, fabulous. Right. Now I will take a couple of cards from the Star Codes Astro, extra messages. Let's see what we've got here for this nodal shift. What do we have? What do we have for this nodal shift? What do we have for this nodal shift? Wow, that's very interesting because of what I've just said with the UK's chart. Okay, thank you. One more. Thank you. Okay, so we have got here 10th house. So that's all about our inner authority. It's also relating to work and social status, but it is to do with our authority. Okay, Saturn is calling for that at the moment, for us to take back our authority, to get in alignment with our spiritual truth. But we're in Capricorn season, so it's like, okay, our authority, our rules, our boundaries. Okay, let's get things done. 10th house. And we've got Taurus and Leo. Okay, they're both fixed signs. So there could be some stubbornness here in terms of accepting what we need to regarding our authority, where we might have given our power away in the past. And with this nodal shift, you know, to bring that into it, if we're having to listen to our intuition in terms of that, and recognize that perhaps where we might have tried to control a certain outcome by giving our power away. And now we've realized actually that wasn't the best thing to do. It's not in alignment with our worth and values. We need to move forward now. So it could be that. There could be that fixed energy. But also it is about allowing ourselves to flourish and to grow when it comes to our worth. And also to be seen for who we are. Okay, this is courage that comes through from the Leo energy, but this is also about being seen for who we are. And you know, our intuition is going to guide us to that, but also the Virgo South Node is going to give us a lot of insights in relation to that as well, because of what I've explained in the astrology. On the bottom, we've got Cancer and we've got Sagittarius. Okay, so that's cardinal and mutable energy. That's all about shooting the bow and arrow in the direction of that which we're wanting, like I mentioned before. And Cancerian energy, that's cardinal energy. So sometimes we have to start from how we feel. Okay, that supports the Piscean energy and vice versa, because they're both water signs. They're both intuitive water signs, as is Scorpio as well. And that's where that intuitive angelic force I was getting from that in the chart. But this is all about, you know, it can also relate to hidden stuff as well. So, you know, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So there can be hidden elements there, because often, you know, on a full moon, we get illuminations of certain things. We know that there is a side of the moon we can't see. So there is a hidden element here. There could be some hidden feelings coming up to the surface that we need to acknowledge, because it relates to the direction in which we're trying to go. But perhaps we've got to address those hidden feelings first. And to go back to the UK's chart, the second chart I showed you that had the two together, with Mars retrograding in Cancer at the moment, for the UK in the 12th house, you know, that is the hidden subconscious house. So hidden feelings could be a big part of this that we're needing to accept in order to move forward, because we've got to understand all of this coming up. We can't just kind of allow it to remain there if it's blocking us energetically. Okay, and that's why emotional releases are often very healing. Might not feel it at the time, but they can be very healing because they allow that space. Okay. And yeah, after that we've got 11th house, which is community, and that's about connections with others. And that's certainly, you know, we're moving into this new reality of how we're connecting with others in a different way. So of course, at the foundation, we need to have that sacred servant vibe of, you know, wanting to be driven from a place of being of service to others, and to, you know, get things in order where we need to. Of course, brilliant. But where might we have been of service to others at the detriment of our own path? Have we given our power away. What feelings might we need to feel? Oh, there we go. What feelings do we need to feel in order to release that? Now, interestingly, I picked that one up by mistake, didn't I? But it obviously wasn't a mistake, because we do need to break through that, like the courageous lion. We need to embody that courage to face those hidden feelings, because that's going to allow us to move forward. And perhaps we've not realized that just simply by being overly of service, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but when it's at the detriment of our energy, it can be, because it can deplete us, obviously. But if we've been doing that and we've been giving our power away, and then we suddenly realize, actually, I shouldn't have been doing that, that can be tough to accept, because we're coming from a good place of doing it. So we just need to uphold that courage of the Leo energy and recognize that, you know, the message I said before about being seen for who we are, that's important, for being seen for who we are, and us getting more in touch with our intuition and our spiritual self. That's our soul. That is who we are. So we need to embrace that more. And that's where the flow is needed as well, because we're going to get shown certain things. We're going to remember who we are. And this is where a lot of past life stuff could be coming up as well, for those it's resonating for, because that's going to give you more of a picture of who you are, because many of us have lived many lifetimes, and so these patterns might be repeating, and it's coming up now to be healed once and for all, because we're moving forward into this new earth, this new energy. Let's connect with our intuition more, understand what we're being guided from our inner compass, and allow ourselves to flow more in this new reality. Sending you all the best for the nodal shift, and just remember, it's that aligned pivot, as I like to describe it. And I'm sending you all the best. Take care. Bye for now.